Hey y'all, welcome back. My name's Katie, this is Dark Side of the Truth, and if you're new here, we're now friends.
Did we just become best friends? Yup!
And if you're not new here, welcome home. Mama's glad you're back. Before we dive in, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you don't miss out on what's coming next. Quick disclaimer before we jump in, everything we're discussing today is based on publicly available information and online theories or speculation. I'm not presenting this information as fact. This is just a deep dive into some creepy ass claims theorists online are making regarding a very real concept known as digital ID. While the concept itself is real, the theories surrounding it haven't necessarily been proven. And at this point, they're pretty much just people's realistic fears of the unknown. So keep an open mind and take all of this information with a grain of curiosity, not certainty. If you still believe cameras are just here to record you, or that your apps aren't tracking every move that you make, then buckle up, honey, because if they're not currently tracking your every move, they very well could be, and a hell of a lot sooner than you might think. So get ready, because today we're talking digital ID and how soon it could be affecting our lives on a daily basis.
They live, we sleep, the alarms going off, beep beep. Time to wake up to the deceit. Our reality's made up by the elite.
Digital ID might sound harmless, sold as just another convenience, another way to quote-unquote verify who you are. But what if I told you it could actually be the blueprint for a system of complete control, tracking everything you do, buy, or access? All across the world, this isn't a theory or some far-off dystopian futuristic nightmare. It's reality and already being rolled out. And the creepiest part, for me anyway, is that internet theorists claim the United States is next in line.
And I think we should move towards a digital ID. It's something that the banking industry is actually working towards today with a product called Authentify, where once you authenticate yourself with one bank, we can share that ID in any other service that you might want to use electronically.
Do me a favor and explain to me what digital ID is first.
It's implemented in stages though too. So it's implemented in stages. So digital ID is essentially tying your biometric, the ultimate goal is tying your biometrics to a essentially IP address on maybe, let's say, a blockchain, so that you can have your own social credit score based on the things you say, the things you pay, and the things you
Black
do.
Mirror.
Very 1000% Black Mirror. So basically every single Revelations type prophetic show that you've ever watched, that.
Some countries already have it fully up and running. Some are rolling it out, and some are plotting and planning its arrival, like a big shiny control system for the future. And this isn't a sci-fi script. As much as I wish that it were, this is happening now. And yeah, it's pretty fucking creepy.
Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing you need government permission just to buy groceries, fill your gas tank, or even access your own money. Sounds like science fiction, right? But it's the very real path that digital ID systems are pushing us toward. Once introduced, they don't just make life easier, they make life controlled. And history shows us something important. When it's free, you are the product, and once freedoms are handed over, they rarely come back. Do you remember when you first got a social security number? It was supposed to be just for retirement benefits, nothing more. They even printed not for identification purposes right on the cards. But look what happened over the decades. Slowly, quietly, that number became the key to everything. Your credit, your healthcare, your employment, your banking. What started as a simple retirement program became the foundation of a surveillance system most people don't even realize exists. Now they want to do the same thing, but this time, it's not just a number on a card you can leave at home. This time, it's a digital system that knows where you are, what you're buying, who you're talking to, and what you're thinking, based on what you search for online. They're calling it a digital ID, and they're wrapping it up in the same promises they always use: convenience, security, efficiency. But here's what a digital ID really means in plain English. It's like having a government agent following you around with a clipboard, writing down everything you do, everywhere you go, everyone you talk to, and every penny you spend. Except this agent never sleeps, never takes a break, and never forgets anything, ever. The digital ID they're pushing is essentially a unified digital passport that ties together your identity with your finances, your healthcare records, your travel history, and your online activity. Every website you visit, every purchase you make, every doctor's appointment you attend, it all gets connected to one central profile that the government can access whenever they want, for whatever reason they decide is important. They're marketing this as the ultimate convenience. Think how easy it'll be. They say, no more fumbling with multiple cards or passwords, one simple digital identity for everything. But you know what? The most convenient thing for a prison guard is when all the inmates are locked in their cells. Convenient for whom, exactly? This isn't some far-off possibility we're talking about. Right now, across the Atlantic, our allies in Britain are rolling out something called the Brit Card, and watching what's happening there is like getting a preview of coming attractions. The British government started with all the same friendly language we're hearing here. They said it would streamline services, enhance security, and prevent another scandal like what happened to the Caribbean immigrants who couldn't prove their right to be in the country after living there for decades. They even claimed it would stop people from crossing the English Channel in small boats. Though, anyone with half a brain can see that's complete nonsense. People working in the underground economy aren't exactly worried about carrying official government identification. But here's where it gets disturbing, and why every American should be paying attention. The Brit Card isn't just about proving who you are online. It's about building a centralized, state-controlled digital identity system that connects your finances, your medical history, your travel movements, your social media activity, and even your real-world social interactions. It's like a digital dog collar, and once it's clipped around your neck, you can't take it off. Now, the British government is calling it optional for now. Sound familiar? Remember when they said the same thing about vaccine passports? Oh, it's just temporary, they said. Just for public health, they promised. Nobody's forcing you to get one, they insisted. But within weeks, you couldn't get into a restaurant or fly on an airplane without showing your papers. I'm pretty sure the Brit Card will be following exactly the same playbook. Once these systems are in place, they become incredibly easy to expand, quietly, incrementally, until suddenly you need your digital ID to apply for a job, then to rent an apartment, then to take public transportation, then to open a bank account. And before you know it, what was once optional becomes absolutely essential for anything you want to do in modern society. Here's the thing that should make every American's blood run cold. This same pattern is already starting here in the United States. We might not have a Brit Card, but we're building the infrastructure for the same system, piece by piece, regulation by regulation, convenience by convenience. Think about how much has already changed just in the past few years. Your driver's license is becoming a real ID whether you like it or not. Your banking is moving digital whether you want it to or not. More and more services require you to verify your identity online using systems that track and store everything you do. Each step seems reasonable by itself, but when you connect the dots, the picture that emerges should terrify anyone who values freedom. The question isn't whether the government can legally create a mandatory digital ID system. They can't just wave a magic wand and make it happen overnight. Any mandatory system would require new legislation, just like when they tried this before with the Identity Cards Act back in the 2000s in Britain, which, by the way, got repealed because people fought back against it. But here's what's different now. They don't need to make it legally mandatory if they can make it practically impossible to live without. And that's exactly what's happening. Look around you. How much of your life already depends on digital systems? Your banking, your healthcare, your shopping, your communication with family and friends. Each of these systems is already collecting data about you, already tracking your behavior, already building a profile of who you are and what you do. A unified digital ID doesn't create surveillance, it just makes the surveillance more efficient. And once that infrastructure is in place, flipping the switch from optional to required becomes as simple as changing a few lines of code. No dramatic legislation needed. No big announcements. Just quiet changes to terms of service and compliance requirements that make it impossible to function in modern society without your digital papers. This is what I call the incremental trap, and it's how every surveillance state in history has been built, not through dramatic coups or sudden oppression, but through 1,000 small compromises that each seem reasonable by themselves. First, they make it convenient. Look how easy this is. No more waiting in lines or filling out paperwork. Then they make it preferred. You can still do things the old way, but the new way is so much faster. Then they make it standard. Most people are using the digital system now, so we're phasing out the old options. And finally, they make it mandatory. For security reasons, we now require digital verification for all transactions. Each step builds on the last, and each step normalizes a little more control, a little more surveillance, a little more dependency on systems you don't control and can't opt out of. By the time people realize what's happened, resistance is painted as extremism, and going back to the old way becomes practically impossible. We've seen this exact pattern with so many things that are now part of daily life. Remember when you could fly without showing identification? Remember when you could open a bank account with just a handshake and your word? Remember when you could use cash for everything and nobody thought it was suspicious? Each of those freedoms was traded away for promises of security and convenience, and each time we were told it would never be expanded beyond its original purpose. But that's not how power works. Power expands. It always expands. Give someone a tool for control, and they will find new ways to use it, no matter what they promised when you first handed it over.
First up, we gotta discuss places where digital ID is already operational. India's got the Aadhaar system, I probably mispronounced that, but basically it's biometric and massive. I'm talking like over 1 billion people currently connected. It's used for typical everyday normal things like banking and welfare and so on, but the creepy part? It's all centralized. One number that links you to pretty much everything. One ID, total access.
Over 1.3 billion people, all linked by a single digital ID. India's Aadhaar system has transformed how citizens access banking, welfare, even SIM cards. But critics say it's becoming a surveillance state in disguise. It's a model the UK and other nations are now watching closely. A direct test of how far digital control can go in the name of convenience.
India, they got their Aadhaar system, whatever it is, and that's I mean, it starts off with a 12-digit code that the government keeps, but you access it via iris and fingerprint. Multiple, I mean, to the point of many waves of famine have occurred with this thing, because there's some error in the system, and pensioners or those who are desperately poor, they don't get their rice. And it has led to many documented cases of starvation in India. Computer error, and it used to be that you go to your little rice man, whatever, and he would know you, and he would know you're on the assistance program, and he would give you your rice. And if the documentation was a bit iffy that week, or got chewed by rats, or didn't turn up, or got damp, or whatever it was, he would know you, and he'd give you some rice. Whereas when all this stuff went digital, it was just file corrupted, computer says no, whatever it was, no, you're not getting your rice. Caused a mini famine in India when this stuff was rolled out and didn't work properly.
Singapore has SingPass, and every citizen uses it for both public and private services. It's connected to everything. Apps, payments, taxes, basically your whole life through one login. Then we've got Estonia. They've gone full digital nation mode. They vote, bank, and get healthcare all through their national EID. Efficient, sure, but every bit of that data lives on their networks. One hack away from being in the wrong hands with serious repercussions. And Sweden's got Bank ID, where it's all about convenience. Digital signatures, banking, healthcare access, it's seamless, but also total surveillance made easy. Vietnam's rolling with VNeID. Their government's pushing it as a quote-unquote citizen convenience app, linking people to everything from public services to personal data storage. All of these examples aren't things that the government wants or something that they're pushing for. It's already here. Every example I just listed is real and currently in use in those respective countries. Now, let's move on to the places on our watch list, or places that are catching up, and I mean fast. In the US, there isn't one unified digital ID yet, but don't let that fool you, because the groundwork has been laid, and at this point, they're moving on to building the foundation.
New York State officially launched their mobile driver's license app on June 11th, 2024. Let's talk about it. With the launch of the New York State Mobile ID program, you will be able to have a digital version of your New York State driver's license or non-driver's ID on your phone. And as of right now, you can use this to go through TSA security at 30 airports here in the United States. This app is currently available for both Apple and Android phones. So if you have an iPhone, you can download the app in the App Store and it looks something like this. If you have an Android, you'll see something like this in the Google Play Store. Now, you will need to download the app and go through the enrollment process. And in that process, you will need to take a picture of the front and back of your driver's license or non-driver's ID. Now, the app is designed so you do not have to physically hand your phone over to someone. If you're at the airport, for example, at TSA, they're able to scan the QR code in your app to check your ID and verify your identity. While having a mobile ID can be very convenient, especially when traveling through TSA security at the airport, this program is still relatively new and therefore it is not accepted everywhere. Besides the 30 airports here in the US, including LaGuardia and JFK, where it is accepted, local law enforcement and businesses are not required to accept these as a form of identification. Now, I did think this part of the article was interesting because New York is not the first state to offer digital IDs, and I guess I myself did not know that. So here are the other states that do offer digital IDs. So you have Arizona, Colorado, Delaware, Georgia, Florida, Iowa, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, Missouri, and Utah. So if you live in any of the states that I just mentioned, you can download their respective apps on your phone and also see what the rules are in your state regarding who accepts digital IDs. And while digital IDs seem really cool and convenient, there are people who are concerned about privacy and security. How safe is our information in this app? And also, this gives the government a way to track our movements, whether we like it or not.
This is what it looks like when you add your driver's license to the Apple Wallet. So this is Maryland, who obviously we're known for our crabs here. So yeah, you can move it around. You can see how it looks, but yeah, it looks pretty cool.
I'm talking Agenda 2030, smart cities, and the push for digital wallets, a one world currency, and government is all paving the way, at least according to this theory. It's being sold as efficiency and modernization, but it's simultaneously setting the infrastructure for a national system where every move that you make could be verified and monitored through one identity, a digital ID.
Digital ID must be accepted by U.S. citizens by 2028 or risk exclusion from society.
Do you know who else has to do with the digital IDs? You guessed it, Mr. Bill Gates himself.
We believe having the ability to save and transact is something that should be universal, and a lot of forms have adopted that goal. We won't be able to do that with traditional systems. That is, the cost of bank branches and paperwork is just too high. But fortunately, starting with countries like Kenya, and more recently with a robust system in places like India, we see that you can have digital financial inclusion. India is a great example. They did a lot of their own technology, which won't be possible for other countries. And so the role of the Gates Foundation as an advocate for those who don't have access today is to make sure there's technology and standards, including open source work that we're providing through the financial switch, which is called Loop, and through the digital identity system, which is extremely valuable, not just for financial activities, but for health and voting and education, and that's called MOSIP.
Since there isn't going to be a one-size-fits-all solution, what is the role that you see the private sector playing in being able to collaborate with different governments to ensure that we move forward?
Well, once you have the digital money system, then there's all sorts of services and applications that can be built on top of that, whether it's helping with health or education or agriculture, giving people visibility into their financial status, giving them advice, should they take a loan, should they buy insurance, what makes sense. The phone becomes a connection for low cost interaction with those customers that doesn't require human activity that would be beyond the means of the people we're trying to get to who don't yet have these accounts. So the digital revolution, which of course was where I worked before moving full-time to the foundation, here we're trying to make sure that the developing countries have the benefit of the digital revolution, in some cases before it gets to even some of the rich countries who have legacy systems that people are so used to that the speed that they'll transition out of them won't be as fast as, say, China or India that didn't have that history. And so it's really learning what worked in China and India, and now making it easy for even smaller countries to do this, working with a lot of partners, including the World Bank, African Development Bank, many of them. So private sector will help these central banks create these systems.
They want to be able to control you.
China's already successfully done it. Their Real DID system connects identity, social credit, verification, and control. You drop below a certain score, and typically, before you even know it, you can't travel and you can't buy certain things. We're talking small factors like jaywalking or littering can have major repercussions on your social credit score. Layman's terms, they literally control freedom and movement with identity.
And they're running down that road in China now. So in China, for example, God, this is going to happen here, I think, too. Although maybe people will fight it. If a traffic camera catches you jaywalking in China, okay, so the digital ID system has your blood now, has your genetic code, has your photograph. It can identify how you walk, so even if you can't see a face, you can be picked up by gait. It will convict you of jaywalking and take money out of your bank account with no intermediating judiciary at all, and show a picture of you to the people in the neighborhood so they know that you have jaywalked, and reduce your social credit score. And if your social credit score falls below a certain level, then you can't buy drinks from a vending machine. You can't play video games. You can't go on a train. You can't get out of your 15-minute city. All that's already in place in China.
When we visited China, this shocked us. Everywhere we went and traveled, like hotels, trains, and even tourist attractions.
And here you have facial recognition.
Our faces were scanned, and just like that, our personal details popped up on a computer screen, passports and all. In China, a digital score decides what rights you get. A good score brings good benefits. A low score, well, you can lose everything. People branded untrustworthy are blacklisted. Their names and addresses plastered on cinema screens for public shame, and over 23 million people are already on that list. And once you're blacklisted, life stops. You can't buy train tickets, get a bank loan, rent an apartment, or even send your kids to a private school. One journalist was banned from traveling just for investigating corruption.
I worry because I think many people like me will be deprived of individual freedom.
As parents, we have to ask this question: is this protecting families, or is this the first step towards a digital dictatorship?
Switzerland approved their digital ID system by referendum, and rollouts are already on the horizon. It's being marketed to civilians as quote-unquote secure and optional. But it's the same foundation as all the others. Centralized data tied to your every move. Nigeria is expanding biometric ID, fingerprints, facial scans, the whole nine. They say it's for quote-unquote inclusion. But what no government seems to want to mention is when, not if, but when these systems fail or glitch, people are instantly cut off from basic needs overnight. Not to mention, some hacker would then practically have control over an entire country or countries, depending on the severity of the hack. You know, just food for thought. Even Ethiopia's in early stages with their FADA ID, a biometric national system. Developing countries are adapting these new ID systems fast because global organizations are pushing for everyone to be quote-unquote digitally included. Yeah, all of a sudden they care about inclusion. Of course, when it fits their narrative anyway. And that's the thing, y'all. It's global.
Because now it's time for digital ID. Okay, 17 countries have rolled out or passed digital ID laws in the last 3 months. 17 countries that are doing this now. The EU, the UK, Laos, China, Taiwan, Mexico, Zambia, Canada, Ethiopia, Thailand, Vietnam, Australia, Costa Rica, Switzerland, and Papua New Guinea.
Some countries are living this dystopian nightmare currently. Some are planning for it. And the US? Well, some believers of this theory say that we're standing on the edge. Once digital IDs, smart cities, and centralized systems fully connect, that's the moment convenience crosses into control. And according to internet theorists, it's not just modernization, it's surveillance, hidden under the guise of progress. And that, my friends, is the creepy part.
What we're seeing today is what I call turnkey totalitarianism. They are putting in place all of these technological mechanisms for control we've never seen before. It's been the ambition of every totalitarian state from the beginning of mankind to control every aspect of behavior, of conduct, of thought, and to obliterate dissent. None of them have been able to do it. They didn't have the technological capacity. Today, the mechanisms are being put in place that will make it so none of us can run and none of us can hide. Within 5 years, we're going to see 415,000 low-orbit satellites Bill Gates says his 65,000 satellites alone will be able to look at every square inch of the planet 24 hours a day. Digital currency that will allow them to punish us from a distance and cut off our food supply. Every right that you have is transformed into a privilege contingent upon your obedience to arbitrary government dictates. It will make you a slave. And what do we do about this? What do? We resist. I'm going to tell you 3 rules that you all need to know and memorize. Number 1, every power that government takes from us, it will never relinquish voluntarily. Number 2, every power they take from us, they will ultimately abuse to the maximum extent possible. Number 3, nobody in history of the planet has ever complied their way out of totalitarian control. Every capitulation is a signal to the oppressors to impose new forms of torment or torture or compliance or obedience. Every time you comply, you get weaker. Bullies cannot be appeased. It just encourages them to new forms of torture and torment. Every time you say yes, you're getting pushed back to a weaker position. That's why we need to resist today.
According to Theorists Online, they're not stopping at digital identity either. The way they see it, the next step in this plan for total world domination is carbon control. The same ID they're selling as secure and convenient will track your carbon output from your car, your power usage, even what you eat. And according to articles I've read online, not even your dog is safe from this new asinine trend being sold as a way to quote-unquote save the planet.
He opened up the World Economic Forum, and they were very excited. They had experts there and everything. John Kerry talked, and Al Gore talked about a new satellite system that is up that's going to be able to pinpoint who has too big of a carbon footprint. You know, it's great. It's great. I voted for that, didn't you? Here they are talking about some new exciting technology that I think you are going to love.
We're developing through technology, an ability for consumers to measure their own carbon footprint.
Oh my God.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
Where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating?
Right.
What are they consuming on the platform? So, individual carbon footprint tracker. Stay tuned. We don't have it operational yet, but this is something that we're working on.
Now they've gone too far. World Economic Forum is saying that your pets, specifically your dogs and cats, have a carbon paw print, and that in order to help fight climate change, they should start transitioning their diet away from animal protein and start eating an insect diet. In the article, it says that studies suggest that your pet's carbon footprint is double that of a car. The article also mentions a pet insect food company called Yora, so I went to their website to check it out, and the insect that they want your fur babies to eat is black soldier fly larva. They even have a picture of the fly on their website here and call it their grub mama and say, "Isn't she beautiful?" No, she's not. I'm personally not a fan of flies. And you know who else isn't? My dogs. So what does the science say? That dogs are natural carnivores. DNA studies, we know that dogs evolved from the timber wolf somewhere around 15,000 years ago. Dogs have noticeable carnivorous traits. Their teeth, their digestive system, and their behavior clearly confirm this fact. If they wanted to eat insects, then they would. Dogs don't produce amylase in their salivary glands like herbivores and omnivores do. Amylase is a specialized enzyme that most herbivores and omnivores produce in their saliva to help them break down starchy carbs into simple sugars before the food enters the stomach. In the WEF article, there's a quote from the company that says, one of the best things we can do for the environment is to reduce our meat consumption. No, I think one of the best things we can do for our environment is stop messing with it and let animals eat what they're naturally designed to.
But as far as theorists are concerned, it's really all about total control and complete surveillance, disguised as sustainability and saving the planet. Now, for those of you who don't know what this carbon output that they're going to be tracking, carbon emissions come from like your car, you know, the gas. They can even come from like the food that you eat. Yes, we're talking about your waste that you disperse and get rid of. Yes, your farts, your gases, your poop and the gases that come off of that. Yes, that's what we're talking about. They want to control how much carbon you're emitting into the atmosphere to try and help with fucking, pollutions and like destroying the ozone layer and like trying to help like save the planet. That's how they're selling this. Okay. I just wanted to like simplify it just in case anybody was not understanding what I was getting at with your carbon emissions. That's what we're referring to. Yes, we're literally debating how much carbon is in your fucking farts. It's insane. And it seems like they're all about normalizing it. In the UK, grocery stores are already currently labeling food containers with a little like carbon output symbol on it. Because they like to get us comfortable with an idea before they fully push it on us, at least according to theorists. Eventually, your purchases could affect carbon allowances, according to this theory anyway.
This is terrifying. In the UK, they're starting to label food with a carbon score. Like this sandwich, eating this uses 8.1% of your daily dietary carbon allowance. And the UK has been trying to get this personal carbon allowances passed since 2008. The government decides how much carbon you are allowed to spend every day in order to fight climate change, along with carbon passports that will tell each traveler how much carbon they are allowed to use each year. In other words, how much they're allowed to travel. And all of this is happening right after the UK has rolled out digital IDs, mandatory to work. My guess is that digital ID will go in a digital wallet where you might also keep your carbon passport and track your carbon personal allowance. Oh, and don't forget the digital vaccine passports, that would go in there too. They gotta make sure that you're up to date with your boosters if you wanna travel or work. So if you live in the UK, you might wanna be careful how many sandwiches you eat this year because you might not be able to fly home for Christmas.
Just imagine being told that you can't buy meat this month because you've already hit your max quota. Or imagine being stopped as you try and enter a grocery store, being told that, sorry, you're not allowed to shop here because you went over your carbon output limit. Like, what? I'm sorry, but that's not climate protection. That's complete unlimited control. And theorists say it could be here a hell of a lot sooner than you might think.
Entry denied. You have criticized the government.
Sorry, last week you purchased too much meat and now your access to your money has been denied.
You haven't let the government know about this trip and your access is denied.
You have gone over your carbon credit allowance of food this week and your access to food has been denied. A day in the life of UK school children 2035 with digital ID. You have gone over your electricity allowance this week and your access is denied. You have gone over your weekly travel limit and your access is denied.
Here's where the theory gets even darker, if that's like even possible somehow. According to theorists, once your carbon output is linked to your digital ID, that's the moment they'll have full control over what, when, or if you eat. So what's the end goal, according to these theorists? Well, to have the regular population eating bugs, while the deletes keep eating steak or whatever the f they want. Now, I know what you're thinking. Yeah, right, Katie. How would they ever do that? Well, theorists argue you'll have a carbon budget monthly, and one steak could have the potential to max it out. So what's left? Theorists will tell you the obvious answer is cricket flour, worm burgers, or even soy protein paste. While this is super creepy, the most unsettling part of it all is that this isn't 100% a theory. Some places and people are already promoting it as the quote-unquote future of food. And if history's taught us anything, it's that the system will do everything in their power to make us comply. Especially if your digital ID decides what you're allowed and not allowed to buy, or allowed and not allowed to travel.
Well, brave volunteers are putting their taste buds to the test at the University of Adelaide. Researchers are preparing common insects for consumption, insisting sustainable food sources are the future.
Crickets, ants and mealworms, usually the last things you want to see in a kitchen. But forget using words like creepy or crawly to describe the dishes they're plating up at the University of Adelaide.
Crunchy and flaky. It's pretty delicious.
People often assume that what they might taste like is kind of this insect, and that's often something that's a bit squishy and squelchy and not too appetizing.
Researchers want to change that, frying, roasting and dehydrating insects to be included in an everyday diet.
They're also really high in protein and good fats. They can be raised using very little environmental resources.
And that's a big win. Global food production accounts for more than a third of the world's greenhouse gas emissions. Researchers say the way the insects are prepared is key. Now, I'm told the roasted mealworm is one of the most palatable for beginners, so bon appetit.
A bit like roast chicken. Start small. You might like to try them in a powdered form where you can't see them.
Feedback from the uni's taste testers will create a sensory guide which can then be used by industries for product creation or by anyone curious enough to try.
A lot of our retailers in Australia have their insects available online.
Taylor Jones, 7 News.
Now here's where multiple popular online theories collide together. So let me clarify for YouTube's algorithm's sake, I'm not presenting this information as fact. We're simply discussing different viral internet theories. But some believe the rollout of digital ID will coincide with Project Bluebeam. The idea being a staged or holographic global event used to unite humanity under a single world government with one world currency and herding humanity like cattle into smart cities under the framework of safety. I know it sounds crazy, right? But hear me out. Enter 3i Atlas, the so-called incoming celestial body that a remote viewer who was previously hired and worked for 3-letter government agencies came out and made the claim that 3i Atlas houses draconian reptilians on their way to Earth.
3i Atlas. A lot of people are talking about that right now. Hot button topic.
Right. So I remote viewed the objects first, and I basically was determining that it was more of a craft, more of a mothership.
Okay.
I'm not the only one who came up with this idea. Like I already basically expressed it to other people I know, and a lot of other remote viewers have also been saying that I can confirm whatever you've been seeing. And then more recently, I was in touch with a person, like a scientist. So I spoke to an astrophysicist who worked at CERN. Indirectly, she was introduced to me from a person in the intelligence world, and she felt compelled to address it. At CERN, they've used their collider to open up a portal to communicate with extraterrestrial beings.
Wow.
And one of them are the occupants from 3i Atlas.
Okay. That's an incredible statement. So you remote viewed 3i Atlas. Did you do that on your own, or were you tasked with this assignment?
I was tasked by the same intelligence people I'm working with to look at the object, because they obviously had concerns. But what I saw as a remote viewer was a mothership with occupants on board, and they were mostly direct reptilian occupants.
Okay.
That's what I saw as a remote viewer. And
that was corroborated by other remote viewers seeing the same thing.
That's correct. Yes.
This ship and Draco.
That's correct. One of them is John Vivenko, who is also a known remote viewer, and he announced it publicly as well. And other people from the Stargate program as well. So they basically all came up with the same idea. And when I was asked to talk to this astrophysicist, I was kind of surprised because I had no contacts at CERN directly, and then all of a sudden I was talking to this woman, and she was telling me that the portal that was opening up to speak to those beings was already in existence, like almost like in a boardroom setting. So they show up and then they interact with scientists and communicate directly with them.
Okay, wait. So I know this is some of our audience might understand what you're saying, but to be clear, CERN already has a room and a technology to open a portal to talk to extraterrestrials.
Yes.
But recently, they also used it to communicate with the beings on 3i Atlas.
That's correct.
Okay, go on.
So those beings introduce themselves as such. So we are the occupants of this object. I don't know exactly what were the exact communication to address the object, if they say it was 3i Atlas or something else. I don't know. But somehow the scientists knew it was from 3i Atlas for what was coming.
Okay.
And they did not show up physically. They show up as holograms. Now, I didn't really know how they look like. So I didn't really ask the question, which is kind of silly of me, but they apparently showed up as holograms. They looked tall, that's what she said, and they communicated telepathically with every single scientist in the room.
Wow.
And they all got the same message, which is that they are coming in peace, and they're just trying to come over here to gather all the star seeds of this planet. That's pretty much, to me, it's kind of a cryptic message. I don't know what that means exactly, but that's how they introduce themselves as to come here.
So what do you think they mean by gathering up the star seeds?
Yeah, that's kind of a twofold situation for me. Like, they could be, if they are truly coming over to help humanity and they're not direct reptilians, and they could be Anunnaki or they could be another race, then their intentions may be to help, you know, the star seeds to evolve to the next level.
Okay, so it could be positive.
It could be very positive. If it's the other way around and the direct reptilians decides to eliminate or take off or get rid of the star seeds of this planet because they could be a potential threat to their existence in the future and now, then I believe this threat could be easily averted, and that's what I picked up as well from the Galactic Alliance, that they will be coming over and come to Earth and save humanity basically for saving their own.
Okay. And when you say coming to Earth, is the mothership going to actually approach Earth, or probes and smaller vessels will come out and
Yeah, what I picked up was like 3i Atlas would never show up to Earth, and then probably like a few thousand ships would just come out of it and then come to Earth, and that would be part of like the open disclosure that you will see them everywhere around the planet at that point.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to keep a lid on disclosure in that scenario.
Right.
So is the SSP preparing for this? Is NASA preparing for this moment?
They prepared for this for a while. So they were already aware of their arrival. They were already aware that the spaceship was coming in and that they were intervening and trying to get towards them on the back of the sun before the approach, happened. Like they already knew. So I think they are talking about interception or maybe potentially like talks. So I think there are some communications going on.
Okay.
As to know how successful they will be, that I'm not sure. But I know from like firsthand that that's what they are planning on doing, if it hasn't already happened.
Sounds insane until you peep the pattern. Problem, reaction, solution. It's their go-to. They create panic or an alien arrival, fake or not, and then offer quote-unquote safety through one global system. One government, one currency, one digital ID, all sold under the illusion of protection. Think about it. Once everything, money, food, travel, identity, carbon, is tied to a single digital ID, well, in that case, they wouldn't need chains, cages, orders for arrest, or reasonable cause. People would willingly lock themselves inside this government system, where you miss a payment, you're frozen. You say the wrong thing online, you're flagged. You eat the wrong thing, you're cut off. All in the name of safety, security, and sustainability. That's not convenience or freedom. That's the perfect prison, built one convenience at a time. Personally, I really hope Americans resist this coming phase of digital ID, because if we don't, the implications of that could be horrifyingly detrimental. And I'm talking we could be living in a 100% AI-policed country before we even realize it, if we don't start resisting, and resisting soon.
Good morning, citizens. Your overnight account balances have been updated. Time to start a productive day. Final notice, your account balance is below 500. You need 50 credits by the end of the day to avoid automatic eviction. If you have missed work due to illness, you must provide a doctor's note to reclaim your credits.
Any extra credits? Please.
Tensions are high today with more
more people planning to join the Citizens Against Digital Control protest. Remember, the government knows who you are at all times. Resisting is not worth the consequences. All of their newest social credit systems are designed to keep you and your family safe and efficient.
Authorities seized a record balance of an individual's credits, citing excessive hoarding.
Traffic violation detected. 7 miles per hour over the limit. 75 credits have been automatically deducted.
You have to be fucking kidding me.
Yep, you got the flu. Your blood work shows a significant iron deficiency. I recommend incorporating more red meat into your diet.
Dr. Jones, your taxes were not filed and have been automatically deducted with late fees. Your medical license has been revoked.
Oh, hell nah, I filed an extension.
Purchase denied. Monthly red meat allowance exceeded. Try mealworms instead.
Can you guys please let me through?
Attention. Unauthorized political gathering detected. Participants' access to financial services has been suspended. Due to the speeding infraction, your car will be immobilized for 3 days.
Fuck you! Take your surveillance policies and rot in hell!
You've earned 50 bonus credits for reporting your neighbor's hateful misconduct. This content exceeds your current social credit tier. May we suggest citizen responsibility? Sarah, open the door. You have been identified by the authorities. Don't resist. Don't resist. Don't resist.
And that's going to do it for today's video. Let me know what you think about this whole digital ID situation down below. And if you made it all the way to the end, please do me a favor and comment carbon down in the comment section, just so I know that you're one of the real ones who stayed until the very end. Now, don't forget to like, sub, and share this with someone who still thinks that all of this is too crazy to be true. I really appreciate your time, and I love all of you so frickin' much. Seriously, you have no idea. Also, it's currently Monday, October 27th, as I'm like sitting down and recording this video, and we just hit 10,000 subscribers on YouTube this morning, like right before I sat down to record this. And like seriously, y'all, I cannot thank you enough. You all are so freaking incredible, every single one of you. This channel wouldn't be half of what it is today without your support, your love, your comments, your shares, and just the fact that you continue showing up. I'm beyond grateful. Like, I'm so serious. Words can't even describe what I'm feeling right now. So genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Your love and support are the main reasons why we keep digging into these crazy topics together. So I want you to know how much you mean to me. And yes, I mean you, listening right now. You're special, you're important, you're needed, and you're more than enough. Ugh. All right, I gotta stop before I get all emotional. But anyways, I love you all so much. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and until next time, I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!